We have the ability to control the emotions of a person who's listening to you. And that's the idea, is to be able to play it, first of all, that you yourself, the person who's playing, can feel what you're playing. You know what I mean? The change in the music, the moods, you know, to keep the listener actively involved just through listening, you know. So that's what we see. It is an exploration, you know what I mean? For those who are willing to explore.
If someone were to ask me the big 4 cities in the country for jazz, I would say New York, LA, Chicago, and Seattle. People might be surprised by that.
They talk about the Seattle sound in a number of areas, and there is a distinct personality to Seattle's jazz community. There's a value system for jazz in this community that has this kind of self-renewing property. It's like an ecosystem. It feeds itself. It kind of renews itself with older players serving as mentors.
Jazz has always been a very sharing kind of music, and it may have part of that come down from the old African griots, where the elders were highly respected and passed down their art to the youngsters coming up. And it still exists to a large extent in jazz.
And there is a great system for feeding the continuum from the younger students that live here and from the award-winning programs that exist here.
It's terrific. The last time I heard, there was about 60 venues that were having jazz at least one night a week. And you've got the high schools, you've got the middle schools, all with wonderful jazz programs. And the kids are learning about jazz from a very young age.
And how those programs then are fed with new students and the values that connect and feed into the whole system.
The academic teaching of jazz here is very important and has been around a long time. We probably have, without question, we have the best high school jazz bands in the country. There's 3 or 4 of them that go to New York for the essentially Ellington competition every spring, and they walk away with 1st and 2nd and 3rd almost every year.
At the core of that, in my opinion, in Seattle is Robert Nat, Mr. Nat, and his work at Washington Middle School.
His dedication to those kids down at Washington Middle School is unparalleled. He makes it very, very difficult for other middle school band directors. If you call him at 6 o'clock in the morning, he's in the band room. If you call him at 6 o'clock at night, he's probably in the band room.
His teaching style and his strictness, some people think he's mean, but really it just motivates us to learn our parts and get better at our instruments.
Middle school was the beginning of where music started to become a big part of my life, and it's stayed a big part of my life. And if I hadn't been so influenced by Mr. Nat, if he hadn't sort of opened this new world of jazz and music to me, I frankly would not be the same person that I am today.
His kids are very solid. I can immediately tell when I audition kids which ones come from Washington Middle School and which ones come from another school. They're just solid.
Developing those musical skills as early as possible cannot be overemphasized.
Those few years are like some of the most crucial in terms of your musical development. Like the habits that you develop then are going to stick with you for a while. And he does a really good job of making sure that you practice and really instilling you with a sense of like the fundamentals of music. First of all, you learn to be serious about the music, and then you learn to have a lot of fun with the music.
He has a lot of kids that come and visit him all the time. Whenever you have kids that come back to their middle school band director to visit whenever they come in town, that tells you a lot.
in my first years of jazz band, every once in a while a previous student of his would come in and he'd go from his grumpy teacher self to just really friendly with the students that he had before and shaking their hands and talking to them. And I was just like, wow, I need to be there someday. I just always looked forward to having that more personal, less teacher-student relationship.
Teachers like Clarence A. Cox at Garfield High School, Scott Brown at Roosevelt, and other high school teachers I've met say they could not do the amazing things that they do with their bands if it wasn't for the preparation that went on in elementary and middle school. Particularly Mr. Nat's program comes in for very high praise.
I think it starts here. No disrespect. When they come through this boot camp here that we have here, we prepare them for high school. When they go there, they're ready.
Hey, you're playing notes, but you're playing like you don't know what that is. No! You cannot take a breath there.
He really puts kids in a position where they need to take some responsibility and learn their stuff, or they're gonna, the worst of all fears are gonna be embarrassed in front of their peers.
Not quite. No, you try to sneak a breath, you can't. Oh, come on, no. You're playing notes now. Ta. That don't sound right, do it? Did you practice that? That sound like it.
I feel like everyone's first impression of Mr. Nat is that he's really intimidating and a little bit scary, especially those first days of band in 6th grade.
Then you learn he's just a lot of hot air.
So that's very indicative of the band directors that I came up under down south. They're very strong on fundamentals.
I think the methods of motivation, especially for Mr. Nat himself, just leading the program, is just simply holding them accountable for perfection. I mean, it's just as simple as that. He'll call people out, expose them the parts that they should have learned, or challenge them to learn something that might be above their ability. But invariably, you'll find kids that just something that they shouldn't have been able to play. With some hard work, they get it, and they get it quickly.
He has high expectations, and yet he forces you to practice.
He doesn't mess around, he gets right to the music, and so everyone's put on the spot from day one.
You can never have like a day off or like a week off, because he'd always be like on my case about what I was doing. And even if we didn't even have a performance or a competition, he'd just be like, hey, are you working on that Gene Harris thing? Just be like, yes.
Even if I hadn't practiced for a couple days, but I thought I knew the songs I was playing, and I would start to play, and then somehow he'd just be glaring at me already, and as though he knew, and I didn't know I was making any mistakes, but I just wasn't as on top of it as I would have been if I'd practiced for those couple days, and he knew. He always knew, so that's just part of what makes him so motivating and so important in his class, to practice and do your best to succeed.
Conrad Hutchison Jr., who's the band director at Grambling. Well, he was an Army director prior to coming to Grambling. He would go to, at random, any particular person and ask you to stand up and play your part. It didn't matter who it was. And when you didn't, not only that person was taken out of formation, but your section leader who allowed you to do that.
Well, I think of all the people that you have interviewed, I probably have known him longer than anybody.
Harris and I became acquainted actually when I first got up here. He graduated from Southern University, which is in the southern portion of Louisiana, and I graduated from Grambling.
And if anybody knows about those two schools, that's probably the biggest rivalry in the United States. He's always giving people a lot of crap about a lot of things. He's got a nickname for me. He calls me Big Head. and I call him P Knucklehead. Bob Nat is like many of the music teachers that I came up under in the South. I'm from Louisiana, so is he. The band director position was not a job. It was a religion. It was a passion. It was just a way of life.
I think we as adults have a tendency to patronize children. Well, okay, you're small, so, well, what is that saying? Little people can't think? I don't believe that, you know. Naturally, I'm on those who say, look, all I want to make is a C. I don't even understand. I can't even comprehend a thought like that. I would say, what's the highest there is to make? And if that's an A, then you can't give lip service to it. You have to be genuinely willing to do what it takes in order to get it. You know? That's called assuming some responsibility for what you say you want. You know? And there are a lot of kids who say that, but then procrastinate along the way. Well, now, and it's not that they don't know the difference. Of course they know the difference. You know, there are normal days that nothing you do is right, but it's like practicing. Today you can nail every single thing that you attempt. The next day, nothing you do is right. Well, you got to be bright enough. Crying ain't gonna help it. Feeling sorry for yourself, that's a hunk of brass. It's dead. It comes alive when you attach something to it. I enjoyed what I was doing, you know, and still do. So I think when I dread having to come, then I got no problem making the decision that it's time to quit. Because the kids are the first ones to see it. They are much more in view of what you're doing than we are of them. So I just think that's a wrong thing to do. Like doing it for all the wrong reasons. It's like playing a piece, but your heart's not in it. You can't fake